Thank you very much and welcome back. Now I am joined by my special guest, the Honorable National Assembly Member for Banjul South, Fatu Njai. She is also running for the role or position of Secretary General and leader of People's Progressive Party. Honorable, thank you for coming.
Thank you very much for having me,
Okay, I would allow you to finish.
Thank you very much for having me, and thank you, Fatu Network, for being the first news outlet that I've spoken with since this, because like I promised when you called me sometime in September when I first declared my intention. I did tell you that I was going to wait until it was formally done by the party before I can give anybody a formal interview, and that is why I am here today as promised.
Thank you, Honorable, and we very much appreciate that. Honorable, why did you decide to seek the position of Secretary General and party leader of People's Progressive Party? This is the most powerful position in the party.
I think it is not surprising that I declared my intention. I wanted to go for the top position of the party because I am one of 2 MPs that we have in the party, and thank God also my constituency gave us also the only councillor that we had nationwide, and I campaigned for him to win the council elections in 2018. And looking at the situation the PPP is at the moment, I think it needs salvation. That is why I came out at this time to go for it and save its last breath. I think otherwise we will be phased out eventually, and that is what I do not want to see. I think that I am capable enough to go out and bring back the lost glory of the PPP. Like I said yesterday in my Facebook page, there are so many undecided voters, and I think those voters are more sympathetic towards the PPP because of what we stand for, because of what we stood for, and I think we are losing that along the way. If I should come out and bring it back and engage the new emerging democratic values as well, I think I will be able to come up with a lot of voters, young voters, the youth, as well as the women, because I am known to be an advocate of women issues and I stand for women rights. Recently, I've been admitted at the Amoji Leadership Initiative, which is an initiative established by the former president of Liberia, Her Excellency Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, and we work to empower women. We work to ensure that women go to the highest positions within any institution, and I think being exposed to that, I think it's about time that I go and help resuscitate what's left of the PPP.
Now, when you talk about salvaging the party, what exactly are you talking about?
What I'm talking about, we all saw what happened in 2018. The party was split into 2, and it is no hidden secret that I advocated for Bakari Dabo for the leadership. He did not win, and then he left the party, of course, but because of my love for the party, my belief of the party principles, obviously I did not vouch for him because of him personally. It was because of the PPP, and I believed then that he would have been in the better position to move the party forward. Unfortunately, that did not happen, and since 2018 we have not moved far, as I expected anyway, because I'm that type of person. You all know me, Lamin. I'm not a time waster. I'm a go-getter. If I want to get something, I go. I push people to go for the best. I push people to do the right thing, and I think now is the time for me to go and make it happen for the PPP, and I will give it my best to my last breath to see that PPP is not phased out in this country. A party that is 62 years old should not just be swallowed up by the crowd.
Now, if that is the case, 52 years old, that is how old PPP is. But this is the very first time a woman is leaping forward to say that she wants to be leader of the party. I mean, unprecedented. You could see that this is historic. Really, what do you have to say about the fact that this is the first time and that happens to be you?
It's also the first time that a woman won the parliamentary seat for Banjul South. We all knew that Augustus Darlin Jawara vied for that position. Unfortunately, she did not win, and she did work a lot to enhance women education, especially in those years pre and post independence, and he made sure that a lot of women went to school, got their financial, economic and social independence. And I think it is not unprecedented. Yes, for the PPP, it is not unprecedented because PPP have been known to empower women. And I think there were a lot of great women behind the party. So maybe to go for the top position, it is the first, but to push the party, the women have been great. They've been doing a lot of work for the party since inception.
Now, if you look at the statement that was put out yesterday, I think I got the statement today announcing that there would be election for the position of Secretary General, Deputy Secretary General, and it happens to be you and the interim leader, current interim leader, Keba Jallow. I mean, in terms of your challenger, I mean, how do you feel about him?
Keba is also, he has great love for the party, but in politics it's not about love and hate. It is about competence. It is not only about commitment, because no doubt he is very committed to the party, and I would love to have Keba in my team. He knows the party, he knows the Gambia. But the time we are in now, I don't think Keba can move the party the way I would want to move the party. I think we need a new breed of politicians. Keba was a chairperson of KMC, I think he joined the party in the 70s, yes. And he was the chairperson of KMC in 1994 when the coup d'etat happened, and he was an active member of the PPP, of course, and then he left for the United States. But like I said, it is not politics of love now, it is politics of policy. What can you put on the table? Because I believe that no one political party will win the elections if my wishes should come through to have an electoral reform and to have a law that will give us 50+1 to win the national elections. And I think that is my wish. And if that should happen, PPP should be in a position, like I said on my Facebook page, we should be in a strong position at any negotiating table. I'm not saying who we are going with at the moment because we don't know. It depends on any party's principles, policies, strategies and theories, of course. And I'm not saying that we are not going for the presidential elections. If we can, we will. But at the state we are in now, we cannot, because we are not strong.
You are not strong. How long have you been a member of the party?
I've been a member of the parliament since
2017. The party.
I can't say how long I've been a member of the party. I was born into the PPP, I would say, because my grandfather was a PPP, my dad was a PPP, my Sadauda and my mother's mother, they are the same mother and the same father. And Sadauda brought up my mom and her siblings, because my grandmother died at a very early age. And if you look at the Karaba, even Sadauda mentioned it, she was her favorite sister, and she stood by him through the hardest of his times. And when she passed, he took up her children as his very own. So PPP is very close to my heart, and like I said, I cannot sit and watch the party just melt away.
You have to do something.
I have to do something.
In terms of the rank and file of the party, how popular is Honorable Touma Njai?
Honorable Touma Njai is one of 2 MPs of the party. So if you say Honorable Touma Njai is not popular within the party, then the party is not popular, because I think I am the party.
Yes.
Yeah, because without me, the party will be next to dead. Yes. We have another MP, but then again, what Touma Njai does in Parliament, what Touma Njai does outside, what I do for my party, I think it is only OJ Jallow at this point who can do that for the party. And I would give him an applaud for that, because if it wasn't for OJ, the party would have been dead by now. And I thanks to him that I can sit here and claim to be PPP now.
Now, at your last Congress, that was a bitter split. You have the Honorable Bibi Dabo camp, of course, which you said you backed him.
Yes, I did.
Unfortunately, he didn't win and he quit the party. You stayed in the party. And while this was happening, you had OJ who was on the side of Papa Njai. So it was like a Bibi Dabo versus OJ thing. You stayed. You decided to stay. Your candidate didn't win, but you decided to stay in the party. How does that affect your chances in terms of vying for the top job?
I think if I were a timid person, I would say it would, but it doesn't even cross my mind, because for me, I look at the competence, I look at the interests of the party, and if anybody should linger behind history, what happened, irrespective of I stayed, because it wasn't for Bibi Dabo personally. For me, it was for the party. I did not see Bibi Dabo, I did not see Papa Njai. I saw the way forward for my party, and he did not win. But irrespective of that, Papa Njai won, because I believe that the elections I witnessed, I counted the votes. And
was it free and fair?
For me, from what I witnessed, it was free and it was fair. And Papa Njai won, because the delegates voted for Papa Njai, and I am vying against somebody else. And if we go through an elections and I win, then we should accept it. And if he wins, we should also accept it.
In terms of your manifesto, what is it that you want? Because I understand that your campaign would start today. What is it that you want to push or tell? What message do you intend to peddle among, delegates, among PPP supporters, voters, if you like?
First and foremost, Lamin, if you own your home and you are invited to go to another home, would you leave your home to move permanently to another home? I think we should think of PPP as our home, as our main home. Like you've all heard, the interim leader stood and mentioned something about our presidential whatever.
What did he say? Because
he said that PPP is not running for president, which I believe that we are not ready for. But I think 11 months to an elections, that is too soon to say. And just uttering that we are going to partner with the president. I'm not saying we are not going to partner with the president, but I'm saying that before we partner with the president, we must stand on strong grounds. We must be able to bring something to the table. You cannot afford to come empty-handed. And that is what I am going to sell to the people, that we need to strengthen our party. We need to be identified as the PPP before we can negotiate. Like they say in Wolof Balangane Nam Nefa. And we are not there yet. That is what I am going to tell them, to sort our house first, to strengthen ourselves, make sure our wings are grown before we can stretch them.
Now, how do you also go about navigating this the age-old belief, if you like, this myth that, well, whenever it comes to leadership positions, people tend to look at men first. They consider men first before they look at women. They will say, okay, kijigen la. So they don't entirely are not entirely comfortable. How do you go about navigating that myth or that belief, if you like?
I think I have crossed that hurdle. Since I'm at the parliament, I've proven myself there, of course. I stood against 4 men. I won them. So I will not believe that myth. I will look at the competence. And looking at it now, if we are to be taken seriously, if we, the people of the party, believe in the party, they should look at competence. They should look at the way forward for the party. Because I am more, I will say it loud, competent to the dot. I'm not saying that Keba is not, but the stage we are in now, I will attract more people, more undecided voters to the party than my opponent, than my challenger, because he's been overseeing the party since September, but I've not seen any change. And to be honest with you, if I had seen any changes, positive changes, it wouldn't even have occurred to me. I was already an MP in 2018, but it never occurred to me to run for it. But I think now is the time. Yeah.
Yes. Now is the time.
Now is the time.
Well, I think it is quite impressive, the fact that you have decided to run for this. But if you look at the country's political landscape, it has. I mean, it is in terms of the number of political parties, it has grown, and that means more competition. But then you have parties that are far bigger than your party. For example, in terms of support. You said that this is about resuscitating or reviving or salvaging the party, PPP. When you look at your party over the period, what we have seen is that PPP has lent to President Barrow. Since the coalition came, your party went Barrow. Barrow had a fallout with UDP, and the leaders of your party, at least the likes of OJ, for example, what they would always say is that they want to work with Barrow. But there have been claims that that's the only way for your party to survive. If PPP wants to survive, PPP has to, bromance with a party or with a political stakeholder, player, actor that is a little powerful and has the clout. In terms of this bromance between your party and the president or the NPP, are you entirely satisfied? Do you think that is the way to go for PPP to stay relevant in this country?
First of all, Lamin, you said that is the only way that we can survive.
Whether that is the only way.
And I don't believe that NPP is even bigger than the PPP, and that I would say out loud, because I think NPP is leaning more to PPP without PPP actually knowing it. MPP, if we look at NPP is leaning on PPP, NPP is leaning on NRP, NPP is leaning on other small parties to feel that they are big. But for example, NPP, like you said, if you say big, they are an incumbent, they are the incumbent. But NPP is not an incumbent, the president is. But when the president is not a member of the coalition. When we had the coalition, NPP was not even a party, and that is why I say PPP is bigger than NPP. President Adama Barrow might be bigger than Touma Njai if I happen to be the leader of the PPP, but that is President Barrow as an independent, because I still consider President Barrow as an independent president, for me personally, because I don't have an NPP government. I did not vote an NPP government, and if we are to lean towards NPP, then that would be our foolishness. We believe that NPP should be leaning on us because we are stronger than the NPP, and that is my belief. And I believe that if I should take the leadership, we will be much stronger, and then if Barrow would want to continue, it will be on our terms. And my terms, I am a principled person. I am known for my principles, and I don't compromise my principles. I don't compromise my ethics. I will lead the party based on the party principles, and that was why I joined the PPP in the first place. When I was running for MP, the UDP was bigger, and I am on air, and they sent so many people to inviting me to their party, but I declined. If I was afraid of challenge, I would have joined the UDP then, and it would have been an easy ride. But I knew what I was going for would never be an easy ride. But I wanted to take up the challenge to bring up my party, and that challenge has been given to me. It is being offered to me. I have opened my hands now to take up that challenge. And if I'm giving that party, Touma Njai, in 2026, I am not saying we will make a great difference in 2021, but in 2026 we will be a bigger force.
Now, if you look at you as MP, what much we have seen is that at least at the level of the National Assembly, you have stood against a number of decisions by the government. I've listened to your deliberations. You would always say that you people should not be rubber stamp MPs. How would that affect when, for example, for instance, if you should become leader of this party, how would that affect your relationship with the government? I wouldn't say you are anti-government, but you are somebody, like you said, you are very principled, and I've seen you reject a number of decisions that are coming from the government.
Do you think if I'm a leader of the party with close collaboration with any government, I wouldn't believe that any government would bring something that is unprincipled to the parliament, because I think it's just bad advice. Because at times you know you are doing something which is wrong. I mean, it's no hidden secret. Like you said, government would take a chance for their interest. At times it might be against the interest of the people, but that would put them at a more advantage, at a disadvantage of the people. And not knowing that eventually it might be at their disadvantage. Because if you do something to the advantage of the people now, to your disadvantage, eventually you will be advantaged. Because if the people are happy, you are happy. Eventually, it's like paracetamol. Yes. When you take it, it's bitter, but it heals your illness.
Of course.
That's how I see it. So I don't think it will affect the government anyhow, because if you stick by your principle and they respect you for your principles, they would rather seek your advice and would go by your decision. And that is what I hope.
Now, still on your on the political landscape, you have all these parties that are way bigger. In terms of you running for the position or the role of Secretary General and party leader, you know, in every political party, you have different people. You have the young, you have the old. Mm-hmm. Who are your priority?
I think you should know that women and children are always my priority. My agenda is always on quality education, proper health care, because we've all seen the the mortality rate in this country, and I've always been speaking about them. So my policy will focus on improving the health of women especially, and improving the quality of education in this country, because you cannot breathe a semi-literate generation, and that is what I've seen now. You've seen people, sometimes you listen to interviews. I was listening to the news broadcast when I came, and the level of English that you hear from university students is not what I desire. It is not their fault. It is the system. It is what is offered to them. And that is the first thing that we will tackle. People will all say that the PPP regime did not give us a university, they did not give us many schools, but mind you, the quality of education was really good. And we had the opportunity then to send people. And people would say again that it was people close to the government, but I would say that it's a big fat lie, because people from the provinces mostly benefited. We all see them. If you go to international organizations, most of the people there are Gambians, and they are not, and that's not been only within the 22 years, of course.
Yeah, but in terms of the voters, the PPP voters, whose support are you interested in the most?
I am interested in the youth, because I know 60% of this population are young people. I would look into their interests so that they would, for now, to be honest with you, I think I have them, because I work with the youth irrespective of your political affiliation, irrespective of your political beliefs. I just want to breathe a better next generation.
Now, let's also, because election is this year, and it's going to be a very important election. This is going to be a do or die for some political parties. I'm not sure about, I'm not sure what it is going to be for PPP. Maybe you will help me with that. But that is what it is going to look like. Already in the terrain, you could see there's been a lot of movement by certain political parties in terms of shoring up support for their party. Yet we have not seen much. Yes, Congress is one thing, but the party going about growing its base is also another thing. At the level of the PPP, what is going on?
Lamin, I think that is the more reason why I wanted to take the leadership of the PPP, because if you, like you said, PPP and NPP, some people cannot separate the two, and I want a total separation. The Dead Sea cannot join the Red Sea. There must be a distinction, yes. And that is why I want to lead the party, so that if we are to even come together, we might come close, but there will be distinction and there will be a firm agreement if the need should arise. That is what I mean. So that is the reason why I want to lead the party, make sure that we are distinguished, we are PPP, and we are known to be PPP. We support the National Development Plan, but I personally do not support the NPP because I cannot, ethically.
Why?
Because even if you look at the PPP constitution, it says you cannot support another party, because especially if you don't share the same principles. What are the principles of the NPP? I've not seen a manifesto yet. So I cannot say I support something that I do not know.
But are you saying that are members of your party who are?
I am not saying, but I said that is why I want to ensure. For me, I'm focused on what I want to do. Because 2018, I did not go for it. I wasn't ready for it, or it did not occur to my mind. And 2018, there was no NPP. There was no risk of our party dying. The coalition was still apparently headed by an independent candidate, and as far as I'm concerned, it is still headed by an independent president.
But why do you feel that your party is dying? Because
the party is not growing. If you live from year to year, every year you must grow by one. Last year I was 49. This year I'm 50.
Yes.
So I expect the party to grow. I do not expect to go back every year and see the same old people. Whenever I go for Congress, I need to see people, new faces. I need to see 18-year-olds coming to join my party.
You are not saying that?
I'm not saying it.
What would you blame that on?
I will blame it on me as well, because I think we should have pushed. I don't shift blame. It's collective. I am an executive member of the party. That's why I've taken up the bull by the horn now. I said, let's go. And in 2 years, and next year, if you give me the mantle and I do not, then you blame me, because I saw something that was bad. I said I'm going to rectify it, and if I don't do it, I shall be held accountable.
In terms of the political situation of the country, while parties are going on, but what we also have to understand is that in this business of politics, the issue of money has been something that is very critical. And you could see, for example, NPP, a lot of pundits would pin their growth on them being financially independent, them having a lot of money. At the level of the PPP, where does money stand in your politics?
Again, like I said, leadership, party base, and party resources are based on the type of leadership that you have. You don't put your money where you don't believe in. If I see a leadership that I believe that is not going anywhere, I will not put my dime. But if you see value, I mean, PPP has got value, has got potential. Like I said, there are so many people who are sympathetic towards the PPP, but they are shying away. And those people have money, they have resources, they have the technical know-how to move the party forward, but they do not see the doors open for them. And I believe that I am going to be that key to open that door.
Now you have two tall problems or challenges standing in front of you. The first is to convince the PPP voters to put you in office. But the second challenge or hurdle would be to convince the common Gambian man on the street, or maybe the UDP man on the street, or the APRC man on the street, to join PPP. Let's granted that you have been able to.
The hardest hurdle,
yes,
is to get the PPP to give me the leadership. I think that is the hardest.
That is the hardest.
That is the hardest. But to convince people to join the PPP will be the most easy thing that can happen, because it's the leadership style. If they see, because for me, I think I have already proven myself. I have already proven my worth to the Gambian people. My integrity will not be compromised, and that is what the Gambian people need. That is what the people need, to be able to trust you with their life. I can give you my life and go to sleep and know that tomorrow I'll be able to wake up and eat. That is what we need. We have not seen that type of leadership in this country, and that is what I want to offer to the Gambian people.
Now, if you are to convince someone like Pata Sedikan or Babakar Siddiq Jame of UDP to join PPP, what are you going to do?
I know it will. Pata Sedikan will be the easiest to come and join me.
How are you going
I know he's listening to me.
Yes.
Because Pata Sedikan,
yes,
we are on the opposite side
Yes.
Because he doesn't see the value of PPP yet.
Yes.
But Sedikan can go to sleep today and I know in his heart that he is PPP.
Yes.
But then he doesn't see the value. If he sees the value, he will definitely jump in, and I expect him to come. I text him every day. And I believe that most of these young UDP guys will come to PPP within a year.
Within a year
within
of
a
you
year.
taking
Yes.
over. With you taking over. Now, let's generalize this thing a little bit. In terms of women in this country and their role in politics, we've seen what has been happening. Well, this has been there since the independence. We've seen women, the wife of the former president, Jawara. We've seen women and them becoming more and more engaged or involved or participating in politics.
The wife of the former president, Jawara, you said?
Yes, Augustus.
Participate. Okay, Augustus. Yeah.
Yes, in politics. Now we have seen it is growing in terms of the honor. Now we have a lot of female MPs, which point to just one thing.
You call 5 a lot?
Well, at least there's been improvement. Things have improved.
Don't you think that we had more female MPs during Yaya Jammeh time?
Female. He was a friend of women.
I think
he empowered women. Yes, but in terms of some of the problems that you face, let's speak along the context of your experience as a woman politician who is very much steeped in politics. What are some of the problems that women go about facing in this country?
I think what I will say, the major problem that we face is not about not being allowed to go in, because I think Gambia is the most accommodating country. Because if you go to some Muslim countries, they would not even allow women to even wear some of the things that we wear. Yes. Our problem is the level of education. The number of women that are not educated is really high. And I think what we need to do to allow them access to basic education first, so that they'll be able to participate. They are very intelligent women if you give them the opportunity, because even if you see the number of women that are educated, they are far ahead of the men who are at the same level. But to give them the opportunity to achieve that education is a big problem. And I think we should open it up for them to have access. And the other thing is also our official language, which is only English. You go to the rural countries, they do not understand what we say. And believe me, when we go to campaign, we talk to them in Wolof. But when we go to the parliament, they don't understand a word of what we say. Who are we talking to? Are we talking to ourselves? We are making laws that would affect the majority of the people, and they don't understand. So for me, the challenge is not like the doors are closed. The challenge is to give them opportunity, to educate them, to be able to go through that door and represent the people. Because we've had how many female vice presidents? It's not that because they are female, they are educated. But what difference have they made? We currently have a female vice president. It does not have any effect on women empowerment. We've recently had a separate gender ministry
of women.
It still doesn't have any effect. Because for me, I believe that if you are a woman, the other woman looking up to you should feel your pinch. It should trickle down. I was happy when we had this gender ministry, but I have not seen any benefit. We've recently had Women Enterprise Fund, but the way I was expecting it to be done, it has not been done. They've given some Banjul women, but the women they are given, I don't feel. I think they are more deserving. Me, I just speak my mind.
Yes.
I advocated for it. When it was a bill, I educated the women on how to make sure that they will qualify when the time comes. They've all applied and they are still waiting. As I speak with you yesterday, I was talking to a group. They've sent their application. Everything in the Gambia is political. We must try to look at our principles. We must try to be politically correct. I think that is what we should do, not think of building up our political base. If you are politically correct, the base will come naturally, and what comes naturally stays.
What comes naturally stays. But then in this country, what the shortcut to success when it comes to politics. That is what a lot of people look at. So maybe they are given to people that they think.
But if you know me, if you go to my constituency,
vote for them, yes.
If you go to my constituency,
Yes.
and I should thank them because they've never asked me for money.
Yes.
They have never. I got elected in April 2017. I established my foundation in August 2017, and everything is routed through the foundation. I help vulnerable women. I support them. I help girls whom otherwise would have dropped out of school, and that is how I do my campaign. I do not give money to individuals, and they know that. And Banjul South, thanks to them, they never ask.
They never ask.
They never ask, but if they see somebody that is in need, for example, in education, they would always come to me.
Yes.
But to ask personally for money, even their wives can give back, they will not tell me because they know that they will not expect me to give. And that is the plus that I would give them. That is the type of politics that we need in this country. And thank you. And believe me, if the system was very good, girls wouldn't have thought of dropping out of school due to lack of fees, because there would have been a social welfare system. We have a Ministry of Gender. Now, they would have thought of policies that would ensure that girls stay in school. Recently, there was a girl, grade 9, agri grade 7. I don't know what would have happened. I was expecting that girl to be given scholarship. They did not. So we had to take up that girl. And thank God, my program is doing that. And that is how I expect to build my support base. Currently, it is only in Banjul South. And if I happen to be the party leader, then I would not encroach on anybody's constituency, because it will be my political mandate as the leader of a national party to take care of every corner in this country. But for now, it is only in Banjul South.
Only in Banjul South.
Yeah.
Now, your campaign team, have you launched it? Because a campaign should start today until later this month, the 27th. I believe that is when the Congress will hold. Have you launched your campaign team? Who are your people? The people that you've hired to? Because this is going to be a very bitter competition, if you like, between you and Honorable Jallow.
I won't say it's bitter, because PPP is a family. This is an internal thing. Whoever wins, we all win. Because if I happen to lead it, I will lead it and he will follow. And if he happens to win, he will lead and I will follow. So it's not going to be bitter. We are not going to separate. So my wish would have been to have a national debate and talk to our delegates, convince them based on our policies, rather than having a campaign team. Because once you have a campaign team, you are breaking the party, because you are dividing the party. Each and every one of us should speak to them. And my wish was to sit and talk to them collectively so that we will not break, because it happened in 2018. For me, I think I am politically mature that I did not allow that to happen on my side, because I still followed what I believed in, which was the party. Some left, but like I said, I'm still there, and I don't want to repeat that again. So having different campaign teams would separate that, and I wouldn't encourage that.
You simply want a debate, which I would very much love to
I would. It is on my message that I sent. I opened it up for debate.
For debate.
Maybe you've not read it.
So you are challenging Honorable Jallow for debate there. I will reach out to him and see if he will be.
No, but it is on my Facebook page. Yes, I did mention it, and I think that is the best thing, because we are all one big family.
Yes.
Whoever happens to win, it is not about winning or losing. It is about taking the party to the state that he might want to take it. He might want to take it, but using different method. But we all see the same route. Maybe the way he wants to do it and the way I want to do it. That is why I said just to sit and have a debate, and probably we might even agree who is best if that happens. Because you might think you are the best, yes, but then he can come up with his ideas and then convince me that he is the best. It's possible.
Of course.
I am politically mature.
And also, if you look at Honorable OJ, he's the senior elder chieftain of the party, and his influence in PPP remains. And I have had claims that it just about appeared that he is leaning towards Honorable Jallow. He supports Honorable Jallow. These are claims that I've not been able to confirm yet. But
I think,
did you hear these claims? Are you concerned at all?
That is not what I feel, or I've not heard it, and I don't sense it. Because I personally went to him, told him about my intentions, and he gave me his blessings. And he said that he would love to see women in leadership. He did not say that he was going to give me his support, because that would be unfair on Keba as well. And as a party leader, he is expected to be neutral. I don't expect him to support me, neither support Keba. He should look for the best, listen to the best, and then go with the decision of the delegates. And I think that is exactly what he's doing. So I don't know how you felt that, but I have not felt that or sensed that anyway. And even if that had happened, he is human. But I think my confidence is up to that level, is to that level that I don't get bothered by other people's decisions. If it doesn't, yeah, because honestly speaking, I spoke my mind, I went to him, and he's not shown himself.
Are you confident of winning?
If the party wants the best, then they will, yeah.
and how about the role of PPP supporters in the diaspora? I'm sure you have supporters in the diaspora, of course.
Yeah.
And these are people who would be watching closely, even if they can't vote, but they would be closely monitoring events back home. In terms of your supporters in the diaspora, what do you make of their role?
I think both of us have supporters in the diaspora, and that is what I expected. I have silent supporters because, like I said, this is a family. We need to work respectfully, because at the end of the day, only one of us will win. And if that person wins, we expect to work together. So even if you have supporters, I would prefer supporters to help me in terms of contributing to the Congress and in terms of helping us with policy, rather than in terms of saying, vote for Touma, vote for blah, blah, in public, because this should be internal. I threw my credentials to our WhatsApp group, and I expect Keba to do same, and then leave it to the people to decide, rather than having somebody speak for me, and then at the end of the day he will say you are supporting me, and then or somebody speak for Keba, and I would say he spoke for Keba, because there would be that inch of thought. If whoever takes it, it will always flash back. That trust will not be 100%, because obviously if somebody opposes you publicly, that is what I'm trying to avoid. So whoever is supporting me, support me in terms of policy, in terms of guidance. I can come and speak for myself.
now I think your Congress will hold in the Mansakongo Bikamaba. Why did you decide to take it to Bikamaba? Do you in any way know that?
It was a decision that the executive agreed. If you know the history of PPP, it was the first name was the Protectorate People's Party, and that would have excluded the rural people. Yeah, and then it was decided to be changed to the People's Progressive Party, and our Congress are always rotated. It has to be inclusive, and that is the culture that we want to maintain. We had it in KMC last 2 years, so we're having it in, at the CRR, and then next 2 years we'll probably have it on at the North Bank. Anywhere we throw it to them, ask them whether they can host us, and then they agreed, and we are going to be hosted by our friends and our family in at the CRR.
Honorable, before we move on to other things, do you have any other thing to say on your candidacy?
What I want to say, I think as a woman, with the issues of women in this world now, and with the UN agenda, I think not to leave anybody behind, it is time that women are given the lead because they are more empathetic. I know how I feel as a woman, and I am the only one that knows how to make good of how I feel. Ease the burden on women. If you ease the burden on women, you ease the burden on the nation and in extension the world. That is my message, and I'm appealing to PPP delegates to vote for me because I know that I'm the best candidate.
Now we will talk about a few things. First, we'll have to, because even if you happen to be the new leader of PPP, this is something that you would very much be involved in. That has to do with the issue of a new constitution. You will not just be party leader, but you also be National Assembly member, and you were there when this new draft constitution ran into trouble. You were there. I can't remember whether you had traveled or you were there. You witnessed it all. In terms of the failure of the draft constitution to pass at Parliament, as an MP, this is the first time I am interviewing you on this. What is your take on the fact that you have a group of MPs, of your colleagues, who weren't happy with this charter and then voted against it?
For me, I've been working on the Constitution since inception because I'm a member of the Human Rights and Constitutional Matters Committee, and we've been as far as The Hague to work on this Constitution. And to be honest, I was utterly disappointed when it was thrown out at the second reading, and I think it was done prematurely, like I always say, because that point was only to debate on the objects and reasons, and we went beyond that. We were working on the principles then, which was wrong, and if I were to chair that meeting, then I would have stopped the meeting. It wouldn't have been thrown out. I think it was done, it was miscalculated, and we denied the public their right to take their decision because we expected a referendum. No. If the public had thrown it out, it would have been their choice, but not parliamentarians representing the people, deciding on behalf of the people without not having consulted those same people that sent us to that parliament. Unfortunately, I was sick, I was away, but I was expecting to come back and sit on it as a committee because it was done on the 20th, I think, and I was in hospital then. I came back on the 23rd expecting to kickstart on the committees at that point, but unfortunately it did not happen.
Why do you think what happened?
I cannot speak for anybody, I can only speak for myself, and
Exactly.
I was surprised because I wasn't expecting it. If you go to my car now, I had so many copies of the Constitution, hoping that I was going across the country to talk to women about it. Unfortunately, it did not happen, and Seni Marina can bear me witness. I picked up loads of it. I'm like, Seni, I'm going, I'm coming back. After it's passed the second reading, when it comes to my committee, I'm going nationwide to discuss it with women so that they can support it during the referendum. And unfortunately, that did not happen.
And when you look at the draft constitution, the political parties have a huge role. In fact, these are the stakeholders, these are the people. Gambians were consulted, but political parties were also consulted. In terms of the position of your party, PPP, while this was going on, you were a member of parliament, but you are also a member of a political party. What has been the position of PPP in respect of the draft constitution?
PPP did not take a position. If you followed my link, I was in support of it, I was in favor, and my colleague Mohamed Now was not in favor of it for his own reason, which I respect. So PPP did not take a position. And that is one reason, that is also another reason I would want to take leadership of the party, because PPP on a normal circumstances, they always had, during the Sadauda days, they always had a parliamentary committee that would meet and take a decision, and irrespective the MPs would look at the interests of the nation and take a position, but that did not happen. We do not have that. We've not had that. I've been a member of parliament for the past going to 4 years. We do not have such committees, and like I said, those are one of the reasons that I want to take charge, because without being properly established, you cannot move ahead.
And now, what do you make of the claims that even the president and the executive, if you like, had a hand in the killing of that these MPs did not work independently in ensuring the failure of this draft constitution, but they did it hand in hand with the executive?
That they had a hand.
That the executive had a hand. You know, you could see before the House voted, you could see cabinet coming out to express its reservations, ministers saying we don't like this, we don't like that, blah, blah. And at the parliament, at the floor of the House, you could see some of the MPs who voted against it saying, okay, this is what it has discriminated the president, it has done A, B, and C, and this is why we are not supporting it.
Well, I think that is their decision. Before it came to parliament, it was in cabinet, and if cabinet had not, I would not say, because I would still blame the parliament, because we are all responsible adults. We should all have our own minds, and I will not blame the cabinet. And I always say it, I've always been saying it. It went to cabinet and they did not alter a dot. So if they had wanted, they would have done it. But then, if parliamentarians allow the cabinet to throw their dirty linens on us to wash, then that is our problem. Why blame the cabinet? I still will not blame the cabinet, because if cabinet said jumped on the river, would we do that? I will not blame them, to be honest. I will still blame the National Assembly members for being irresponsible. And I cannot say that cabinet had an influence on them, because the document was with the cabinet and they did not change it, like I said.
Now, what would you like to see? Because I know the government now is trying to find a way of reviving it. And then there is a new dialogue program or process that has been kick-started. Mm-hmm. What would you like to see in terms of all that is happening to ensuring that this country gets a new constitution?
I would love to see a new constitution before our next elections, and unfortunately, if it doesn't happen before June, it cannot be, because 6 months before any elections, we cannot change the laws. And we would love to see it happen, and I think it will be the greatest legacy that His Excellency can leave, leading us into a third republic. Yeah.
Okay, still on that, the issue of parliament and its role in this newfound democracy. The constitution is, new constitution is one thing, but in terms of the role of the parliament, very critical arm of government. But this parliament, and in terms of the work that it has done in, let's say, advancing this democracy, what can you tell us about that, as someone who has been there, what now? Well over 3 years now.
I think this parliament has shown a lot of,
yes.
We have gone a long way in terms of holding the government accountable. You've seen when they bring the budget, they have to sweat, even though they get away with certain things, but we cannot put the whole country to a standstill. Mm-hmm. That's why at times we had to let go of certain things. But then again, I can see the toughness of this parliament, because the government, the ministers think twice before they come to parliament, and they seem to consult us a lot, which I personally do not like, because I would rather you do your work and I do mine, and you bring it, and I independently make a decision on it if need be. I wouldn't want you engaging me in your decision making, because it will influence the decision I will eventually take when it comes to us taking our decisions. But then again, we have to work hand in hand. But I feel and believe that my colleagues are doing a good job in terms of holding the government accountable. As we speak now, some of the committees are up country trying to inspect the projects that the government are doing, and you've seen some of our committee meetings, the way we handle the ministers, but still, we could have gone further. I see us sometimes as dogs that bark and not bite. I think we should at times take the whole, exercise the whole powers that we are given. We have the same powers as the High Court. For me, sometimes I just feel that I should send some of them just to Mile 2 for 2 days and 3 days and then see what happens. Maybe then they will take us more seriously. Some of my colleagues think that is harsh. Yeah, but then again, this is a country. This is not my home.
Yes.
We should
have to be serious.
Exactly, we have to be serious about it. And if we are seen to be serious, then we can, because I've seen some of my my colleagues in the region. A minister insulted an MP and he was sent to prison for 3 days. Yeah. And I think we should exercise. Yeah, we should. Yeah.
You know,
but then, exactly.
But yet in your parliament, sometimes it's really rowdy. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of quarrel. There's a lot of tension. Really, in your parliament, even yourself. You clashed with, I've seen you clash with the speaker. The speaker said you should withdraw. You said you would not withdraw. So you could see that, I mean, sometimes those things happen.
Yeah, that is normal. That is work. But the speaker is my friend, my auntie. We work well. But when we are on the floor, she's my speaker, and I'm the NAM. So that's strictly business. So, but when we are out, you see us sometimes with even Yakumba, we have a good push and pull. But then we go out hand in hand. We go and sit and have lunch. Yeah.
So those things are normal.
Those things are normal, and we expect them to happen. And if you are familiar with parliamentary affairs, you will know that it happens worldwide. But then that doesn't make us enemies. It is the party supporters out there that like take it personal because they get so emotional. But if you see us in parliament, we fight on the floor because that is what we are meant to do, to protect the interests of the nation. But then when we go out, we all embrace each other and have lunch. Sometimes we even go out, not eat at the parliament. After fighting on the floor, we go out and eat.
You do all of that.
Yeah.
Now, what do you also have to say about the delay in the voter registration? The IEC was supposed to start that.
The IEC was supposed. If you are familiar with the budget proceedings, you can see that the IEC budget was drastically cut. And I believe that the fault is not ours, but the fault is the Ministry of Finance and the IEC. We try to cut costs as much as possible. It is for them to present their case and tell us that they only factored the referendum and reduced the budget based on the fact that the referendum might not hold, not bearing in mind that it is election year and they might have to do voter registration and all that. So it is shortage of the budget, but we are in discussion with them, and I personally advised them 2 days ago that if the Ministry of Finance should bring a supplementary budget regarding that, and it's justified, obviously, why not? Because we all need to register. Every day somebody turns 18. The last registration was 2011. That's 10 years ago. Come on, some people are 28 and they've never voted. And that is illegal, that is wrong, that is taking their rights from them. So in that case, I will support a supplementary bill. For that, if it's used judiciously, of course, but they came to us. I told them blatantly, you shouldn't come to us. We cannot approve anything. Go to the Minister of Finance, they can present your case for us, and then we'll take it from there.
And also, the Supreme Court has asked the IEC to allow Gambians who live abroad to be able to exercise their franchise, to be able to vote. What do you have to say about that?
If you look at the Constitution, they've always had the right to vote. I think what they should go for is how they are going to vote, because obviously even the Senegalese vote in the Gambia. They should arrange for the logistics, but the Constitution gives every Gambian over the age of 18 in their right state of mind the right to vote irrespective of where you stay. But how are they going to do it? Are they expected to come and do the registration here? Are they expected to come and vote during the elections? I think those are the things we need to talk about. And in fact, I was in one of the CRC's meetings in the UK. I was there and I attended. I was only there to observe, but unfortunately, having my big mouth, I couldn't keep my mouth shut because I was expecting them to ask. All of them were, we want to vote, we want to vote. I said, go and look at the Constitution. As a Gambian, you have a right to vote, but how? I think that is what we should talk about now. How? The IEC, it's not going to be expensive. I mean, we can get support. We got support for the CRC. We can have support for diaspora voter registration and diaspora voter logistics. And for us, for Gambians, we are lucky that we live in clusters. We live in mostly in the same areas. So if we were to go you in England, we can be voting in London. People can come and vote. In Scotland, most of them are in Edinburgh. And in the United States, they are in these big cities.
Big cities, Atlanta.
Exactly. So we can arrange for that. It's going to be just easy. But then again, is it to the advantage of any president? For me, if I know that the diaspora are in support of me, obviously I will kill myself to make sure that they vote. But then again, those are the things that we should ask. Not because we have you seen the Constitution?
Yes, of
does
course,
it deny them any?
It doesn't
deny them.
I think,
exactly.
in fact, the Supreme Court would normally struggle in taking a decision, but I think this one was a very easy decision for the country's top judges, really, for them to decide on. But also, let's talk about what proved to be very controversial and contentious. The decision by you and your colleagues to allocate yourself $54 million to build your houses. Really, that was something that really a lot of Gambians really railed against, and they condemned you. Why did
they condemn the Parliament?
Parliament, of course. And why did Parliament decide to come up with such a thing when we are in dire financial straits?
I love your question. Why did Parliament? Because rightly said, any decision that is agreed is Parliament decision. It cannot be individual, irrespective of whoever. But then again, if you followed when we are doing the appropriation, I brought it again, and it was voted back because I said I think we should look at ourselves. Look at their situation of this country and just let go, and then we voted again and they voted. I voted yes to remove it, and some of them voted no, and the no's won, and it's remained. I think it's only ethical. It's there in principle. It depends on the individual if they apply for it, because I stated it then I did not vote for it, so it will be unprincipled for me to go and apply for it, and I clearly stated it from the word go that I was not going to apply for it, because obviously we need that 54 million somewhere else. Our schools need that 54 million, our hospitals need that 54 million, rather than us developing our personal selves. And I always say it, if you go into politics for your own personal interest, go and open a shop. Any interest there is yours, but any interest that we should earn should be earned on behalf of the people that we represent, not us.
And now, how do you reconcile that with the claim that most Gambians go into politics just to better themselves, just to make money? The quickest, some would say, the quickest way for a Gambian to hustle in this country is to start a political party, for example. Or
really?
Yes, of course, or be a politician.
I don't know. No, I've been in politics for 3 years, and I think I've been lesser off than being better off. Yes. Yeah. So I just said it, that if you want to make profit, go and do business. And I think that speaks for itself, that there is no profit in politics. The profit is seeing a better nation, and we've not made profit in that sense yet.
because the reason why I said, you would see some people make the claim that all these, if you see people starting all these small one-man parties, all they want to do is they just want to wait until it's election. They'll just open their party, start their party, be at the corner. Once that is election, they will form a coalition with a bigger political party, and if that political party comes to power, boom, you are minister, you are appointed minister. So that is the fast track way of getting to power.
Okay, for me that's very unprincipled, because if I believe in my political party, I would rather expect people to come and join me rather than me looking forward to joining any political party. I want to make my party big and expect people to come and join me.
Yes. Now, still on this 54 million, because I mean, some of your colleagues really, they defended this. They said you have a right, MPs have a right to decide their own benefits, their own salaries. You know, I could, and you have MPs who argue that, listen, we don't have much left as MPs. Who can guarantee that you will come back to this parliament when next there is a parliamentary plebiscite? Now, in terms of all the different arguments that have been made around this, you are saying that really, if you look at the financial situation of the country, it wasn't really the wisest. But in terms of the timing of this. You have a pandemic that has wrecked the economy. And yet you have some of our MPs really who are very much interested in this. And now, in fact, if you look at the development that came yesterday, the Supreme Court, because you have two civil society groups that went to the Supreme Court for an interim injunction, they lost. Meaning, MPs will be able to tap into this money. What do you have to say about that?
Like I said, it is not illegal because it is the law that we determine our own remuneration and our own benefits. It is legal, but for me, what is legal might not be ethical. And what I always say, legalities are made by man, but your ethics are your principles. They make who you are and they make you. So I would rather, when it comes to legality and ethics, I would stick to my principles and my ethics because they make me who I am. Man makes the laws and they make laws to their own benefit. It might not be to the interest or the benefit of the nation, but your principles make you. So don't compromise them and don't play with them. So for me, yes, it is legal, but my principles will not allow me to take it. So I'm looking at the ethic base of it. And you have seen some of those people who have voted yes for it, but they said they are not going to take it because their principles will not allow them, but because they followed the legality at that time and voted yes. It still does not make them bad people or that it is wrong, because it was right. Because we make our own. Everybody, when we complain at times that we don't have these, people say, but you make the laws.
But is there any
have
caveat?
that? No, they said you have the knife, so cut. You gave us the knife, and when they cut, you blame them. So it's not illegal.
Yeah, but is there any caveat around that law, the law which says MPs can decide their own benefits and their own salary? Because I'm not even sure this is a blank check. Maybe there is a caveat. Is there any?
Not that I know of, because
so MPs can just sit and
we can just sit.
That we can our just salary to be at 100,000
and 100,000. That is correct, because they bring the budget. When they bring the budget, it is not law. When they bring it, it is just a bill. And MPs, except for the judiciary, the Auditor General, I think 3 offices we cannot alter, we cannot touch. But apart from that, we can. We can have bilaterals with them and agree, but we cannot. But like you said, we can increase our salaries. But is that ethical again? Why would you want to go and represent your people, rid them of any hardness, and then transfer? That's how I see it. Take your hardship and transfer it to the people that you are supposed to rid of those hardships. So in effect, it's not ethical, but it is not illegal.
Now let's also talk about the decision of the Supreme Court to say that the president was wrong in removing one of your members of parliament, a nominated MP. You are an elected MP, because I have interacted with a lot of people, and really, but to me, I think the Supreme Court made a bad judgment, a terrible judgment, in that you have MPs who can be removed, who are elected. You have MPs. Okay. You have MPs.
Okay.
MPs who have people who are accountable to their constituents, elected MPs. These are the ones. But you now have MPs who are also MPs, but they are not accountable to anybody. They're just appointed.
You said you have MPs who can be removed by the people.
By their people.
But do you know how?
By election.
No, by an act of parliament. If once you take that oath,
yes,
your electorate cannot remove you. There must be an act of parliament, yes, and that act of parliament has not been. There is no act of parliament. It is said by an act of parliament.
Yes.
And I would really applaud any MP that would bring that act of parliament, because it will show that you are there to stand the heat and make sure that you represent your people well. But again, I still do not agree with the fact that you said that you disagreed with the Supreme Court. Yes, she was nominated. But once you take an oath, we are all the same, all National Assembly members, and there is nothing that states in the Constitution how they are removed. It is only stated how they are nominated.
They are appointed.
Yes, but not how they are removed. If we allow that to happen,
yeah. Do you think it makes sense at all to have people nominated MPs who are not accountable to anybody? Because now what the Supreme Court has done is that so long you are a nominated MP, you are not accountable. You've taken the oath, but you are not accountable to anybody. Unlike the elected MP who goes back to his people to report to them. If it is election, he will go. They will assess whether he or she did well or not. They can put him back or sack him or her. You don't have that when it comes to a nominated MP.
You know how I see nominated MPs? The principle of a nominated MP should be very specific, because during the PPP days, it was the youth, the business community, and it was like very structured, and that was the purpose of nominated members. And if you look at Honorable Njai Yasin,
yes.
She's representing
and
Honorable Yakumba is supposed to be for the youth. Honorable Njai Yasin is supposed to be for the physically challenged, yes. And probably Honorable Majanko supposed to be for the, I don't know, probably elderly or the business.
I don't even know about that one.
And then the speaker probably just gender or whatever. But the thing is, we are politically biased. Our leadership seems to be politically biased. They tend to nominate people that would be sympathetic towards their interest. And that was why they nominated, because if you look at all those nominations, it was only Njai Yasin that I've seen as an independent nominee. The speaker, Yakuma, the deputy speaker, Majanko, probably the president nominated them expecting them to protect his interest. And it backfired, because Yakuma said it during her interview. She ran for primaries and she was not elected by her own party. I am a PPP. If I had primaries and was not elected, the president wouldn't have nominated me, because probably he wouldn't even have known, because he wasn't a member of my party. That was why I said it backfired on the president. And for me, that's why you've never heard me talk about that, because he was protecting his interest. It backfired, and then so be it.
Now let's talk also quickly, finally, before the wrap up. The president, this is 4 years in power for him. A man who was supposed to serve for 3 years, he is now 4 years. He has his own political party, and only God knows really when it's going to end for him. In terms of the way he's running the country, are you satisfied?
We cannot be. I personally, I cannot say I'm 100% satisfied, but there are certain things that he's doing that I'm okay with. For example, we all say that we all go to sleep and not have any fear of being arrested. Yes, it's a democracy, and we don't expect that of him. We would have been very disappointed if he was doing that, but that is happening. And I can say that satisfaction to a certain degree, that I can stand at the parliament and say anything against the president. I called his budget speech rubbish at one point, because I said that he shouldn't come to the parliament and read us poetry, because we wanted to see policy, we wanted to see the way forward. And if it was during the Yahya Jammeh days, I wouldn't have gone home probably. And I think that is a plus. But then we had an agreement with the Gambian people. They had an agreement with the Gambian people when they went out there in 2016 and proposed certain things to us. And I think that was why we gave them our word. That was why we brought them in to lead us, and that hasn't happened yet. Probably they promised us civil service reforms, constitutional reforms, security service reforms, and that is yet to happen. And I am particularly disappointed that the Jani Commission was not implemented to the dot, because I even mentioned that in Parliament, that it was discretionary of him because it wasn't through an act of Parliament. But then the commissioners were paid by taxpayers' money, and they deserved to see the recommendations implemented to the full, because it was us, you and I, that paid for it, so we deserve to see the result. That is why I do not have any confidence in the TRRC, because once bitten, twice shy. If, for example, the Njai Commission was not implemented, how are we going to guarantee that the TRRC will be implemented? And also, President Barrow in 2017 had an interview that there are enough Gambians to fill vacancies, and we've still not seen that, of course. We are seeing people being recycled, and that is not to my desire. And I'm not saying that he shouldn't. He can give them a chance, but he should also give everybody like he promised. A promise is a promise. Like I kept my promise. I said, when I spoke with the proprietors of Fatu Network, I said, after I've declared formally, I will come, and I kept my promise.
And you kept your promise.
Yeah, so a promise should be kept.
Do you think he deserves a chance to lead again in December?
For me, to be honest, I have not seen anyone. Like I said, if I see somebody who is better, because I've not seen, that's why I'm throwing my hat to lead my party. I'm not saying I'm going for it because I'm not ready, but who knows, maybe if I'm too dynamic, maybe let us pray. It can happen. My party can come up with a candidate. Let's pray and work hard. But so far, I've not seen anybody who is doing anything else. So
they are Peter and Paul, one and the same.
6 and 9.
Yeah,
exactly. So it's like
yin and yang.
Yin and yang.
So you would prefer him then?
I'm not saying. It depends. When the time comes, I will decide. I've not made my decision yet. I have one vote, and I have my party. If I should lead my party, we will decide when the time comes.
One thing also before we end this interview, last year in March, you were arrested by police. It was your mother, I believe, who traveled
and my daughter,
and your daughter, and they were at a quarantine, Golden Beach, and that was degenerated into police taking you to, I think it was Senegambia police station, I believe. Yeah, and then there was a lot of noise around that. What really happened?
If you followed, I was posting stuff on my WhatsApp status that I'm going to name names of what happened.
Yes.
And then probably they got scared because I called them. There were certain people that were left from the airport to go back home. And I'm like, in fact, even before they stated that they were going to quarantine people, I had prepared my mom's home and for my mom and daughter to stay there and quarantine themselves for, and I said 1 month. I even said for 1 month, because my daughter is a sickler, my son is a sickler, I'm asthmatic, I'm a sickler. I didn't want to get exposed. So when they came, I already pre-arranged that with the ministry, and they are listening. If they are listening, they can come and deny that if that wasn't the case. So when they came, I didn't even go to the airport. I was expecting them to drop them at home. And they did not. They took them to the hotel, and apparently a few days before that, I heard that hotel wasn't used for like 2 years. So can I have my coffee, please?
Yes.
So I requested, in fact, I took them lunch, I took them bed sheets, towels and stuff, and I took medication for my mom because they had already sent their medication before they came. So when I went, I did not want to go in, of course, because of my condition, and so I requested for the hotel manager to come and talk to me, and I blocked the gate because he was driving out and I knew them. He would have just driven without talking to me, so I blocked him. And he came, we spoke, he assured me that they would clean the place, so I moved. And then the police officer came and said, "Warulo wana ranunga gisman tamane ko hayo ne ko lo gor bon man mala gina ne ka gor parce que man ma fata hayo nyeme ni lo ñew." And then probably that was why they were angry. And then on the Sunday, when my daughter called me and asked for pizza. So normally when I buy them the pizza, I just go and drop it and I give it to the guards, and then they were waiting for me because I don't know, I was actually in my car. The car was running. They dragged me out of my car and arrested me.
And arrested you.
So I'm like, they just didn't want me to speak. And because I called, I made my investigations. I called the person that apparently called the doctors to allow that person to go, because the doctors told me they were not aware, and I called the doctors back and I said, "But yo, danga fen, parce que yo dang ma wax ne xamulo li way ki mu ne yo la waxal." So hunger, and they just probably wanted me to be quiet. And I think that was the first time again that the police magazine, they immediately published it in the night because they didn't want me to speak. And I didn't want to take it further because, like I said, I have so many people that look up to me, and I believe that this government is my government, and I didn't want to drag them to court. Some people actually wanted this to happen so that I can fall apart with the president, because some people even called me that your President Barrow daf la arrest doo ko bàyyi ngay nekk xaritam. Man ko President Barrow suma jëkkër la arrestud ma police yi ñoo ma arrest, and he wasn't even aware. So at one point I told him about it and he just laughed. Like he wasn't even aware. But people were like, President Barrow moo la arrest yow doo ko bàyyi nga koy support. Man waaye man supportuma ko, man everybody knows me as a PPP. And then it was just like everybody was happy that that had happened. They thought that would bring a rift between the president and I. But our relationship is personal. It's not, we don't discuss politics. It's just like your party and my party. Yes. We joke about NPP and PPP and that's it. But I am not, he knows I'm not NPP, and I know that he will never be PPP. But then also, I also know that he's only got that advantage because he's a president. Who knows about the future of NPP when he's no longer president? Only God knows. But then that was it. People just wanted a rift between the president and myself.
One more thing on that. How did you feel as an MP and being arrested by police in such manner?
I just felt that the police, they do not know where their line should stop, because in any country, an MP, I am also an ECOWAS MP and I represent all the ECOWAS countries. In fact, somebody sent a text to the ECOWAS speaker and he was very concerned. He called me, said, "You are?" I said, "No." In fact, I have the text here that he sent me. That I told him that no, it's not the president that arrested me. It was the police, so it's okay. Blah blah. I think people were just happy that they wanted to cause a rift between the president and I, but then I'm not that petty.
Yes. Honorable, you are a politician, an MP, now you want to be leader of PPP. You are a mother, a wife. How do you juggle all this? How do you go about making sure what how do you go about juggling that?
It's like I've always been a working mother. Working at a bank was very difficult as well. It took all my time because I remember my last son, when they removed the stabilizers from his bike, they removed it for like over a month and I didn't see him ride his bike. So he was like, "Yo mom, yo da nga liggéey ba samedi sax da nga dem liggéey ba pare gisuloo ma sax maa ngi dawal suma cycle bi sax without stabilizer." Man ko man xawma woon sax you are riding it without stabilizer. So that was so I'm used to it. And yes, this is different because I used to spend summer holidays with them. That was like a family thing. July, August, we spend it together. But since I became MP, it was like not possible. We've not spent the whole summer. It's like I spend 1 week with them and that's it, and it's really made a difference. But now they are grown. My eldest is 18. She's at university now. And it was really hard when she left 2 years ago, because if I'm away, she will take charge. And now both of us, but then also Mustafa is really helpful and he's always there with the kids. And really that's it. He steps in.
That's just about. Now I'll allow you to speak to your voters directly. You can look into the camera. I think this one is your camera. Look into your camera and then address your delegates, your delegates.
This is for PPP, and in fact, I will not say I want every Gambian to be PPP. So this is for Gambia. This is Touma Njai. I'm running for the leadership of the PPP. Like I said, I have my reasons for running because I don't want my party to melt away. I don't want it to die, and I feel that I am the best person if you look at my credentials, if you look at my experience, and if you look at my interpersonal relations. What I feel is that I believe that the Gambia needs a new breed of politicians. And I think even if you are in opposition, you need to be an opposition with a difference. You need to be an opposition that will come up with policies that would affect how the government runs the country. If they do something that you do not think is right, you can come up with an alternative and force them to do it. But if we have the same opposition that we have, that will just follow the crowd, that will just give a nod to whatever the government is doing, then I think we might as well be a one-party state. That is the reason I want the leadership of the PPP to make the PPP better and bigger.
Honorable, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So that is Honorable Touma Njai, National Assembly member for Banjul South. She is running for leadership of our party, Secretary General and party leader. There will be a Congress later this month. She was my guest. Thank you for being there. We'll be back next week. Sorry. Until then, goodbye.
Thank you.